The lie that shook a nation. On the night of October 25, 1994, the small town of Union, South Carolina, was thrust into the national spotlight. Susan Smith, a 23-year-old mother of two, reported to the police that her car had been carjacked. Her two young children, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alexander, were still in the vehicle. According to Smith, a black man had hijacked her car at gunpoint while she was stopped at a red light, fleeing into the night with her sons inside. Her voice was trembling, her face contorted in fear, but what she didn't know was that this moment would be the start of a chilling chain of events. The authorities immediately launched an intense manhunt. The story made national headlines, a picture of a desperate mother searching for her children, a woman in distress. The public rallied behind her. A composite sketch of the supposed carjacker was broadcast across every news outlet, racial tensions flaring as the media painted the fugitive as a dangerous criminal on the loose. What no one could have foreseen was that Susan Smith wasn't telling the truth. And 9 days later, the revelation of what really happened would send shockwaves across the nation. The false story, the nation believes her. For nearly a week, the media covered the story obsessively. Every evening, Susan appeared on television, her eyes swollen with tears, pleading for the safe return of her children. She described the carjacker in detail, a tall black man with a thick beard, wearing a baseball cap. Her voice broke with grief as she recounted how she tried to fight him off, only for him to overpower her and drive off with her sons. Her narrative fit a pattern that many were quick to believe. A mother, innocent and terrified, victimized by a dangerous criminal. The community came together, organizing search parties, handing out flyers, and holding vigils. The FBI became involved, coordinating with local law enforcement to follow every lead. The race to find the carjacker, to recover her children, was a race against time. But something wasn't right. As the days wore on, the search was beginning to stall. Investigators found no physical evidence to support Susan's claim. Her story was unraveling, but the public was reluctant to believe it. How could a mother lie about something so heinous? The twist cracks in the story. As the search efforts grew more desperate, the police began to notice inconsistencies in Susan's story. The timeline she gave didn't match the evidence. Security footage from nearby businesses showed that her car had not been stolen at all. It was simply parked in an isolated spot by a lake. Authorities found Susan's car on October 29th, submerged in a lake just a few miles from her home. Her sons, Michael and Alexander, were dead, their tiny bodies trapped in the back seat of the submerged vehicle. This discovery was the turning point. The public's sympathy began to shift. How could a mother, who had appeared so grief-stricken, so full of pain, be capable of such a cold and calculated act? As the investigation progressed, the authorities uncovered chilling details about Susan's personal life. Her ex-boyfriend, Tom Findley, was a wealthy man who had expressed a clear disinterest in being a father. Susan had been obsessed with him, and it was soon discovered that her relationship with him had been tumultuous. She had attempted to manipulate him in various ways, hoping he would commit to her, to love her the way she desired. But Tom wasn't interested in her children. He didn't want them in his life. Susan's obsession with Tom had grown to the point where she viewed her children as obstacles in her path. To her, their presence in her life prevented her from fully pursuing the life she wanted with him. She saw her sons as burdens. According to her own words, she was willing to do anything to keep Tom in her life, even if it meant making the ultimate sacrifice. In a handwritten letter to Tom, she confessed, "I would do anything for you, even give up my children." The despair she felt from being rejected by Tom, and the tension in their relationship, had spiraled out of control. She had already tried multiple times to win his affections, but nothing had worked. In the end, she believed the only way to be with him was to remove the source of her pain, her children. In a deeply disturbing moment of clarity, Susan realized that she could get rid of her children and gain Tom's affection. The only way to do this, she reasoned, was by killing them. She devised a chilling plan, luring her children into the car, strapping them into their car seats, and then driving them to the lake. There, she let the car roll into the water, drowning them in the depths. When investigators recovered the car, the scene was horrifying. The bodies of Michael and Alexander were found still strapped into their car seats. In an eerie and heartbreaking detail, the two brothers' hands were found clutching each other, a final act of love and protection. The discovery of the children's bodies shocked the nation, but it also revealed Susan's cold indifference. In the days following the car's recovery, she continued to cling to her false story, even as the evidence pointed in her direction. It wasn't until she was interrogated by police that she finally cracked. Under intense questioning, she admitted to the murders, recounting how she had driven the car into the water, watched it sink, and then walked away. Her explanation was cold, emotionless. Susan Smith's trial began in 1995. Her stone-faced demeanor in court contrasted sharply with the grief-stricken family members who sat in the audience, their eyes filled with disbelief. The nation watched as the truth about what she had done became increasingly clear. The prosecution painted a picture of a woman driven by selfishness and a twisted desire for love, someone so consumed by her need for validation that she could commit the unthinkable. The defense, meanwhile, tried to paint her as a victim of depression, unable to control her actions due to mental illness. But the jury was not swayed. On July 22, 1995, Susan Smith was convicted of 2 counts of murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Her case sparked national outrage. How could a mother, who had appeared so desperate and broken, be capable of such horrific actions? The grieving mother, who had once captivated the public's sympathy, was now one of America's most hated women. Her face, once seen as a symbol of innocence, became a symbol of the darkest depths of human depravity. What drove Susan Smith to commit such a heinous crime? Was it narcissism, a desperate desire for love and acceptance, or something more sinister? Experts debated the reasons behind her actions. Some pointed to a deep-seated narcissism, the belief that her needs and desires mattered more than anything else, even the lives of her own children. Others saw signs of sociopathy, a lack of empathy for her victims, and an ability to manipulate those around her for her own gain. The media's role in this tragedy cannot be ignored. For days, the public believed Susan's story, rallying behind her as she played the role of a grieving mother. The media's willingness to believe her, to portray her as a victim, was partly due to the racial tensions that permeated the case. Susan's claim that a black man had committed the crime played into long-standing racial fears and biases, causing the public to focus their anger on an imagined criminal, rather than questioning the woman who had lied to them all along. Susan Smith's case remains a stark reminder of how far someone can go for love and how society's need for answers can sometimes cloud the truth. The case of Susan Smith is a tragic story, one that serves as a grim warning about the dangers of obsession, manipulation, and the consequences of unchecked desires.